Hi everyone, I'm back. I'm sewing for Costume College. I've got my skirts I'm sewing onto my hexadecimal dress today. It's the overskirt, it's the last layer, and then I get to play with the trims and lace and all of that, which is super fun. I do still need to put the little fluted sleeve thingies on too, so that's yet another step. So I know it's been a minute since I talked with you guys. I should introduce myself too. I'm Lauren, I'm your sewing buddy. If it's your first time joining me, this is meant for you to be creative along to. So it might not be sewing, it might be drawing, sculpting, writing, whatever your creativity happens to be. That's what I'd like you to work on while I talk at you, just, keep you company. So, like I mentioned last time, I got a new job, and it turns out my new boss is amazing. Her name is Manaz, and she is just getting back, I think, today from Paris, where she was on a buying trip. That's the level of bougie of this boutique. But she is amazing. She's supportive. I showed her some of my creations, and she wants to talk about helping me make my fashion line reel, which, oh my god. She's like, oh yeah, next time, get your passport and we'll talk about, going to Paris with me next time. What is my life right now? Are you serious? So all of that is super exciting. I can't believe my luck in finding this woman and this job posting. Yeah, other than that, as you can see right here, I had a little flare-up with MRSA. That is all taken care of now. Thank you, antibiotics. Right now I'm doing a little hidden stitch here, so it goes barely into one layer and then barely through the rolled bit of the other layer, just so it comes out like a nice sort of invisible, and you don't see any of the lining. That way they're going to be best friends, and I can put some gold trim over that if I want to, which I think works with hexadecimals overall motif. I get my hexadecimal masks today, which I'm really stoked about. I get to see if my pockets are big enough or if I need to cut them wider, which is part of why I haven't finished those seams yet. I know I'm jumping around a little bit. There's a lot to catch up on. I spent Father's Day with my in-laws. That was cool. Yeah, they're cool. I don't really have a lot to say about that. Looks like everyone else left David's bridal. I'm actually right now kind of fighting with them over my vacation hours. I've already gone to DLSE, which if you have any struggles with your previous employers, talk with DLSE. They are all about getting you set up. It's the Department of Labor Standards Enforcement. So yeah, I took a screenshot of my vacation hours before I officially was terminated or left, because I had a feeling something fishy was going to happen like this. And then I left a message with their payroll department to ask, hey, when can I expect my last check? Because it's been a bit, and it's going to include my vacation hours and everything, right? So then I got a call back the next day saying, oh yeah, it's going to include your 30-something vacation hours. I had 70 hours racked up. And they're like, oh, well, when's the last time you checked? Because, did you check this morning? No, I checked yesterday. And so I went and checked, and they're like, oh, you were granted 75 hours, and you used this many, so now you have 30-something left. No, my available balance before I left was 70-something hours, so y'all are screwing with the numbers. Plus, it took them like 2 weeks to get me my final paycheck, which they owe me an average day's pay for every day over 72 hours. So, as of right now, they owe me at least $3,000 more. That's the missing vacation time plus the additional pay. So the downside is it's going to take me 6 to 8 weeks to hear back from a deputy. But I think all of that time also counts for them not paying me what I'm owed. So if that's true, cha-ching. We've got costume college coming up at the end of the month, which is why I am furiously hand sewing. I could do this by machine, but I think it's gonna look a lot better hand sewn. Last week we did a big clean on the house, which I think has both Jody and I feeling a lot better about it. You can see there's still kind of a bit of clutter on his desk, but you know, that's we don't have a lot of storage, but we do have a lot of stuff. Yesterday I got to go visit a lot of fabric I have at my friend Sarah's house. She was letting me keep it in the bed of a truck in their garage, but they're getting rid of that truck, so now it is moving to, or it has been moved to their basement, and I plastic wrapped it all, and it's there waiting for when I run out of fabric here and need to pick up some more. I'm kind of excited that I get to actually make those things where it's like, oh, this would be really cute, but I can't wear that to work, so there's no real point in me making it. I'll never wear it. But now my job does actually allow me to wear whatever I make as long as it's fashionable. Which, come on, it's all going to be fashionable. And Manaz introduces me to people as a designer. Like, she's insanely supportive, and I love her. It was kind of fun running the shop without her for a week while she was in Paris. The other employee, who is also Lauren, redid the whole inventory, so now it all makes sense. Because I guess, like, there wasn't really a uniform system for it, and I don't know, it was just weird and nothing was standardized, but now it's all the same. Like, if you put in a Marc Lebon, then it looks like all the other Marc Lebons, except the description and SKU are different, of course. We've got 4th of July coming up. The fireworks are already a thing. My poor cat. It's that time of year where you get to play gunshots or fireworks, and sometimes, like, it's hard to tell. We've actually had some shootings in the Bay Area on the freeways recently. I don't know if you've heard about that, but there were like 5 or 6 incidences on different freeways. They caught one guy out in Big Sur. They're figuring that one was a personal attack and that none of the actual shootings were related to each other. God, this is turning out well. I'm really curious to hear how the audio turns out on this one, because Jody accidentally purchased a couple of microphones for us because they were in the Amazon cart, and he bought something else, and it just all happened to come together. So hopefully my voice, when it gets more quiet, doesn't fade out entirely. I've got lighting, I've got sound. It's almost like I'm a real YouTuber or something. And as always, I want to see what you're making. No one has actually showed me yet what you make while you're watching or listening to me. So, you know, tell me about it. Like, leave a comment. Leave a photo link. I want to see your Instagrams, your own YouTube channels. Like, let's promote each other. It would be really awesome. You're my community. I want to know more about you. getting to a little fiddly bit, so I might drift off like that for a little bit. I wasn't sure how this was going to turn out when I started it. And the underside is still a mess. I'm going to be folding this over and sewing that down too. Yeah, because I've never done like Robella Francais style or anything. So this is exciting. It's one of those things where like I see them every year at costume college and I get so jealous and like, oh my god, I want to beat you up in the parking lot and steal your stuff on the last day. And of course I would never do that. Most of it probably wouldn't fit. Yeah, so it's kind of exciting to have one of my own. And I know my pocket hoops aren't perfect and I might make a better pair of those one day. But for now, they're serviceable. And I kind of played around with putting pinning trim onto the jacket, and I think it's going to look amazing. By jacket, of course, I mean the bodice. It was a jacket at the time because there was no skirt attached. Political climate here is sad. It is some BS, what with, you know, kids being kept in cages and being treated worse than we would allow pets to be treated. Like, you hear about dogs being kept in tiny kennels and not being given the basics that they need to survive. That's when authorities get involved and take the dogs away, and you know, those go to a rescue shelter. But where's the rescue shelter for these kids? Like, we're supposed to be their rescue shelter. That's like, I don't even know what I'm speechless over it. I'm gonna switch topics there. We're all caught up on Critical Role. No segue. So now we actually get to start watching it live and kind of take part in the chat room, which moves way too fast because there are way too many critters out there. But that's fun and exciting. And it means that we don't have to sit here and binge to try to catch up. We can catch up on other things like Jessica Jones and Cloak and Dagger, and I know the new season of Legion is coming out. Santa Clarita Diet. You know, all those other things that we've kind of set aside. Every time we catch up with one, another one crops up. And I know this skirt is supposed to be less pleated and more seams, but I like the look of it pleated and gathered, so that's the way I'm doing it. Nothing about this is totally HA or on I didn't really follow a pattern, so I'm not too worried about making it perfect. Done is always better than perfect anyway. If I was fussing about making this totally historically accurate and following a pattern, then I would still be struggling. I've got to do it my way. And that, I think, is why I don't follow patterns anymore, because I'm too worried about following every single step exactly. But if I don't use a pattern, then every step I do is perfect, because that's the way I want it to be. except for those instances where I think I want it one way and then I do it and then that's totally off. But that's what mock-ups are for. You can see I'm making good progress here. Wow, this shows up a lot more red in video than in person. So that's going to be interesting for gala photos. Next to me you can see the results of my ball skirt. It is not pretty, but it's also for the ugly brigade, so that works out. There's the structure inside. Definitely needs to be steamed. The skirt, or sorry, the dress itself actually turned out really cute. It kind of reminds me of my Grandma Winland, which is exciting. That was totally on accident. And I picked that fabric because I thought it was a really hideous fabric, but it turns out it's really, really cool. Back to work, Lauren. And these aren't the perfect invisible stitches either, but like I mentioned, I'll probably be covering this with some gold trim or something, because she does have some gold at her hip line. So I think this would be a good way to translate that. I don't want to talk about any political stuff because that's all super depressing and then I won't even want to sew anymore. Did I learn anything cool recently? Not really. My coworker Lauren, who's called Rebecca because that's her middle name and Manaz can't deal with two Laurens. She is hoping to one day get into Broadway. She's 19 right now, so you know, she's still in college and she's here for the summer, which I'm really glad to have her. But we might be trading sewing lessons for voice lessons, and I think that would be really fun. And then I might sound a little bit better in video recording. We haven't started that yet, except, you know, I showed her the basics of threading a needle, which, fun trick. The part that comes off of the spool is always the part that you want to have at the end here because of how the threads are wound. If you do it the other way, like if this end were coming out of the fabric, then I would get a lot more knots and bunching, and this way it all works better together. It's a lot happier. You always want your thread to be happy. Your fabric too. You can hear some of the noises outside. We've got the windows open because it's actually a nice day. Hopefully it'll stay that way. Knock on bolsa. Don't know if I've got anything else going on. Maybe shorter videos will be better format. I know I promised you a happy stories from my childhood. Didn't get all of that worked out yet because I've been busy trying to hectically get this done. And once I have all of my costume college stuff going on, I have the super secret Bumblebee project, which I can't show you in case the client happens to see this video. Or not this one, but you know, these videos before the actual project gets to their hands. So I'll have to think of something else to work on to talk with you about. Maybe that'll be my one day a week I work on stuff for myself. It is important to sew for yourself or craft for yourself. Like, if you draw something just to hang on your own wall. If you sculpt, you know, play around, make something for fun. Don't always be thinking about just doing it for money, because that's when it stops being art. super happy with how this is turning out. I can't wait to show you the final project. For now, I'm gonna call this. I know it was a short video after a long break, and I'm sorry for that. But like I said, I want to hear about what you're working on. Link me your Instagram, your photos, wherever you happen to show that stuff off. Give me ideas for things you want to hear about while you work, and go create something amazing.